How's it going, everybody? Welcome to ParaTruth Reborn. This is a pre-recorded show on 107.7 FM New Orleans and United Public Radio Network. My name is Justin. Erik will be popping in with me shortly, as well as our guest, Margaret Ann Lembo, the author of The Essential Guide to Archangels and the Saints. There's the book right there for y'all. Margaret Ann is an award-winning author, aromatherapist, and the owner of the Crystal Garden. Margaret Ann is the author of 11 books and 7 Oracle affirmation decks, including the Chakra Awakening, the Essential Guide to Crystals, Minerals, and Stones, the Essential Guide to Aromatherapy and Vibrational Healing, and many more on gemstones, angels, aromatherapy, and the power of positive thought. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in Erik and Margaret Ann Lembo. Margaret Ann, welcome to ParaTruth Reborn. How's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to have you on. So this is actually something we've never talked about before, so it'll be interesting. First question, though, before we even get into all of it, how did you get started with all of this?
You mean in regard to, like, specifically the world of metaphysics and that?
Yeah.
So, growing up a Roman Catholic, you would think, oh, that doesn't make sense that, she's into understanding the world of metaphysics and spirituality. But as a child, I had a very magical, mystical experience overall with the Catholic Church. And my mother taught me about how to do telepathy, what extrasensory perception was. ESP is what it was called at the time, which is basically intuition, right? And so I grew up with it naturally, and we read the horoscope every morning. So it was a natural part of my life to work with what is considered metaphysical, although I didn't know it was called that at the time.
Now, I'm assuming your mother kind of was brought up in that, or did she kind of like stumble across it?
It may have been, she was born in Italy and came to the United States as a very little girl, like 9 months old.
Okay.
And it might have been that background of being close to the earth and more like old world, maybe, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, my grandfather came from Sicily. We never really talked about that kind of stuff, and he was Catholic as well. So it's interesting that it came from being Catholic to getting into the metaphysical, because you do hear about that, back in the old country, as they call it, that this was just normal practice.
Yes. So therefore, like common things like how to work with different plants and herbs. My mother taught me how to communicate with plants as a young child as well. And just connecting with them to help them grow better and to be a good steward to the earth, so to speak. So even composting in that was part of a natural, probably because she was, both mom and dad lived through the Depression. So there was a lot of need to reuse things and reduce waste, because they had to keep finding ways to have what they needed in the household. And I think that was part of it too. But the saints and the angels and all that, those all were mystical and magical, very metaphysical experiences. Like there were channeling and visions and really profound stuff going on.
So what made you want to actually write the book?
All the books that I've written to date, including this one, come as almost as if it's an assignment. It was like it's a job. I wake up often with a title or a need to write something, and then I put it on my, in my view, and this is my writing desk where I'm sitting here now, and so that I guess it's this book, the Essential Guide to Archangels and Saints specifically. I feel like maybe the whole reason why I became an author to begin with, but I needed to go through all the other books to get to this one, It just feels like it needs to be out in the world in a more practical way that the world of metaphysics can utilize it as well. I think it's overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of makes a lot of sense because you bring up crystals and essential oils and all that in this book too, that kind of coincide with the archangels and the saints. So what kind of research did you get into with this? Because it mainly is kind of a Catholic practice for archangels and saints, but does it go beyond that? Is there more to it when we're talking in terms of the mystical?
Very much so. Very much so. I love that you asked that. So the research that I had to do the most was to find out about the history of the actual all of the archangels and the saints. That's like some of that information I knew, but not enough to write a whole pretty decent sized volume here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the part that was important to me was connecting the dots and getting the matching vibrations of working with crystals and gemstones and how they relate to that particular archangel or saint, what essential oils can amplify the experience to connect with them and to even bring their positive qualities into, your own life for self-realization, for self-evolvement. And that's important to me to grow as a spiritual being. And I hope that this will help other people look at things a little differently and utilize these invisible beings that are really willing and able and waiting to help us all. I mean, they come upon request. We have to invite and invoke or petition. I use the word petition in the book, but you're kind of praying to them. Come, help me. I need help with this, that, or the other. And so we might as well use them. They're there, available.
Well, and the main reason I asked that question too is because in Catholic religion, you're kind of taught to pray to the saints, and I wasn't brought up Catholic, so I don't remember if archangels are included as well. Because in mysticism, in the esoteric, it's not necessarily you're praying, but it's all about intention and getting the attention, if you will, of the whatever you're trying to communicate. So it's basically kind of like that, right?
It is very much so. You described it perfectly. That's exactly what it is. It is. It's like, it's inviting that energy into one's life. And it's like when we use that's why I didn't even use the word prayer often or hardly at all in the book, because it is a petition to bring that vibration, to bring this energy in to support one in one's life and have a better and easier time of it,
Now, as a child, and maybe you didn't share this with other people, but I'm assuming you probably had some friends that kind of found out about these practices and stuff. Were you teased about that at all? I don't know what your upbringing was as far as being in school, but
yeah. So I went to a Catholic school for 12 years. So I didn't. I guess I was clear from my mom that it wasn't something that I needed to talk about or discuss necessarily with other people to say, oh, I talk to plants or I communicate with the, nature. Or I look at it, I think it was more a matter of that I was just enjoying, believe it or not, I enjoyed the Catholic experience while I was in it. I'm not really a practicing Catholic as they, as the church wouldn't define me as a practicing Catholic today. But I didn't throw the baby out in the bathwater as I continue to evolve on a spiritual journey. And so I incorporate also the teachings of Native American philosophies and indigenous cultures throughout the world, including Peru and Mexico, and including Hinduism and Buddhism, and continuing to keep those, because there's so many, like when you really start to look at comparatively, there's so many similarities between those worlds and what I'm sharing in this particular book with working with the archangels and saints.
Well, that's fascinating that you went that route, because little back history on me. I was brought up Protestant. Around my teens, I kind of lost my faith because of different things happening in my life. And it was one of those things where it's like, you know, if all these bad things are happening, you know, where's this God that everybody talks about that's supposed to help and bring good things to you and that sort of thing. And then when I came back to faith, I still wasn't as dedicated as Erik is now. He came back to faith full force, and he has actually gone a long time without his faith wavering, which is amazing in and of itself. But I've always had the inclination that, you know, religion's a man-made thing, that everybody's trying to explain or try to explain this other stuff that nobody sees.
That's really that's a good point. You know, I find that it is faith we're talking about here, but I don't feel like we're talking about religion. That's not. Even though this is so associated with religion because it's what it's based on. I feel like these are energies or entities and energies that are available for us to connect with. And yes, faith is extremely important, but for me, faith doesn't necessarily match with being religious anymore. It used to when I was growing up, you know. Can't have 12 years of Catholic school and not have that combined, you know. Did I see Erik was in there too? Did I see him?
Hi, Erik. Hi.
Margaret Ann, Erik.
Hi, Margaret.
Nice to meet you.
Apologize for being late. It's
no worries. No, I've been enjoying time with Justin. No worries at all.
So, Erik, we went over a couple of the questions that are in our notes here, but Margaret was brought up Roman Catholic as you were.
Okay.
And her parents actually came from Italy, or was it just your mother that came from Italy, or both parents?
Well, my father was born here, but both sets of grandparents all from Italy.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that's how she got started on the kind of esoteric portion, which is in the book.
Okay. Makes sense.
And you know what else? I had a family. Well, he wasn't a family member. He was a friend of the family. One of my father's best friends. His name was Vic. He introduced me to Edgar Casey as the sleeping prophet and the magic of believing and the power of our intention. Back when I was like 8 years old, or, you know, in that early preteen age, even younger perhaps, you know. So that also brought the metaphysical into my world, in addition to what I was picking up with, you know, because Mom was a prophetic dreamer too. That has another part of it. That, you know, how can you not consider beyond the ordinary when a woman wakes up and says, like, you're not going on that field trip, Margaret, because I had a dream. What was the dream, Margaret? Mommy, no, I'm not going to tell you, but you can't go. And then she was right. Something happened. Always.
That's wild. My sister, you know, she is not very much religious or even any sort of real belief system. But there's been a number of times where she has thought of something or had said something, and then within 24 hours, that thing manifests out of nowhere, almost as if she knew it was going to happen. And like to this day, she'd be doing this her whole life, but she still doesn't give it any credence to it. It's just kind of like, it's just a thing. It happens to all be coincidence. And I'm like, there's a certain time where coincidence just isn't coincidence, you know?
That's really profound. And she just accepts it as just totally normal and ordinary.
Yeah. I mean, she gets weirded out about it for sure. So she's like very careful to, like, for example, I'll tell you a quick little story, but when she was in middle school or high school, there was some kid bothering her, and she told him, she's like, I hope you get hit by a bus. And the next morning he's riding his bike to school and he got hit by a bus. And thankfully he was okay. Like, he had to go to the hospital and all, but you know, it wasn't anything too serious. But things like that have happened multiple times to her throughout her life. But yeah, you know, she just like, I don't know. She just kind of chalks it up like, I'll just be careful on what I say, you know, and that's it. but she also seems to have very high anxiety at times. So I don't know if that plays into it. Sorry, my cat is like walking in front of the camera here.
I'm a cat lover. There's three inside, and I don't even want to tell you how many outdoor cats we have.
But yeah, you know, it's like
I love the ears over here.
Well, you know, my cat, he just learned that there's a cursor on the screen like 2 weeks ago. So now every time I come here to do the podcast, he's right in front of the screen, ready to slap it. And it's like, dude, you're in the way.
Hysterical. I love it. So you were finding that she actually would say something, and that something would become manifest reality, not because she was like overly trying to make it happen either.
Right. No, like there was nothing that she didn't want any of these things to happen. It just happened to be that whatever she said would indeed happen. But yeah, she hasn't like really given any credence to it. You know, she thinks about it. She talks about how weird it was or is. But that's it. She's like, I'm just not going to say anything bad about anybody just in case. Yeah. That's probably a wise decision.
Very good idea. That's true.
She was talking it into reality.
Right.
Sounds like it. Only use it for the positive, right?
Right. Now, Margaret Ann, something I wanted to ask in regards to, you know, the essential oils, the crystals, even the zodiac signs. It's fascinating to me that certain zodiac signs kind of pair with different archangels and even saints. So I guess similar to the same question I asked you earlier, how did you kind of come across, like, how is it just like the energies that you're feeling off of it, or how does that work?
Okay. So I have the way I see things with crystals and gemstones is they have a certain vibration. And so let's say, you know, my celestial crystal, you know, like this has a certain energy. So this would be really associated with bringing forth information from like the Akashic records, or from higher wisdom, higher knowledge. So then that would make me look at, okay, this archangel, whichever one it is, because at this moment I can't think of one to specifically. Maybe Zadkiel could match up with that, and it would, or like with Zadkiel, a stone that is fiery, like fire agate or sunstone. That has an energy, because Zadkiel has to do with also associated with Saint Germain and the violet flame. So then, like, you keep connecting the dots, and then with that would be essential oil for that. Let's say for transforming and transmuting energy, which is what the violet flame is about. Then you might want to work with, of course, amethyst comes to mind immediately because it's violet also, and it has that swirling energy to transform reality. If we allow that to be in our field, you know, we have to consciously connect with it. So it's not like the crystal does it, or the essential oil. It's more the intention that's amplifying because of the use of the crystal and the essential oil. Did that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does make sense.
Cool.
Now, like when you're actually using those things, though, like some of the angels, they tend to vibe with similar elements or crystals. So is it more of a particular thought process, or just simply calling upon the name of a particular angel or saint when you want to commune with them? And how do you determine whether or not it's the exact angel or saint that you're trying to reach out to?
So I don't worry too much about, like, I don't think too much about that is, we'll stay with Zadkiel because his name came up. So not so much, is Zadkiel here in my presence? I don't worry about that so much. I think of it more like, I trust that my prayer, my request for assistance is being heard. And if Zadkiel is the best one, he brings it to the level of God, Goddess, Creator, to the next highest level, so that it starts to help orchestrate life in such a way that it helps to transform reality.
Okay. So in a way, it's very similar. I mean, we know a lot of ghost hunters, if you will, who like call upon the Archangel Michael to protect them. And we know like various people like vets, anyone in the military or police officers, Michael tends to work alongside those individuals, supposedly. So in a way, it's very similar to that. You're just calling upon an angel for help and expecting them to go higher to God or another angel even to either protect or do whatever it is you're asking for in prayer.
Yeah. Yes. And our Archangel Michael is one of the most loved and most popular archangels. It's even made like I have a line, I'm an aromatherapist, and I have a line of sprays that include an Archangel Michael spray, and which I got from a meditation. I got the formula through a meditation, and that's one of the most popular ones. And the reason is also that it's the angel of protection, is the angel of making sure that justice is upheld. So, of course, that makes it great for law enforcement and for first responders and our military. Fantastic. But for everybody, you know, Michael can help us all. I like to call him Michael because all the archangels have the EL on the end. And but Michael, we make it just sound ordinary.
Right.
Raphael, Gabrielle, Michael.
I honestly feel that pop culture has romanticized Michael over a lot of the other angels as well, though, too.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. That's true. And when you really start researching some of the other ones, like Jehudiel is very much along the same lines as Michael. He's very much similar in the protective energy. So there are other archangels that are lesser known. And like I love the story of Archangel Barakael, which is an archangel I didn't even know about until I was doing research for the book. And this is an angel of blessings. It's someone who brings blessings into your life. So I would love to have an archangel on my side bringing blessings forward into my life. And I wish that for everybody to feel like they have blessings, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, looking through the book, it looks like it's just a matter of you can use the stuff to help with things. But are there certain archangels or saints that you call on specifically, or does it have to do with just where you're at and what you're trying to do?
So me personally is what you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah. So like Saint Francis is one of my most famous, my most popular. In fact, I have his prayer right above me over here. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. You know, that whole beautiful verse that's about being of service, being a channel of God's light and goodness on the planet. So that's part of who I want to be, and I strive to help others and still maintain happiness and joy for myself, hopefully, you know. So I really like Saint Francis of Assisi, but also like Saint Bridget was a very empowered woman and was able to do some magical things. There's some backstory about maybe she came from a Druid background, a Druid family, but then was Catholicized, so to speak. And also the other one I really, Hildegard von Bingen, Saint Hildegard. I've been to her monastery or convent in, I don't know if it's called a monastery, a cloister. I think it was considered a cloister in Germany. But it was before I was doing much research or connecting with angels and saints in the same way that I am now. And in retrospect, this particular saint, she was a musician. She made plays. She was a crystal healer back in the mid ages. She was she wrote letters and talked to popes and high level what do you call them? Cardinals and of that nature. And they respected what she had to say. She brought through so much information and knowledge to people. I'm like pulled the book because I was looking to see what I don't know. Look at how beautiful that cover is. Didn't Llewellyn do a beautiful job?
It is beautiful. Yeah, it's a really nice one.
It is a really nice one. But Hildegard, and then, I also love to change my own subject. I go on tangents a lot. I also like Our Lady of Guadalupe, like Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and Saint Anne are very, very sacred in my life to me. So that's like, if you walked around my house or my store, I own a crystal shop in here in South Florida. Mary's all over the place. Mother Mary, she's over my desk. She's in the another room, another office at the front desk. She's everywhere, because I want that compassion and kindness to be evident vibrationally and when people walk into the place, so that it's not just in your face shopping, but more of a come here and feel love. Come here and feel blessed. Come here and know that there's a safe place where you could take a deep breath and everything's okay. And if you can, buy something. But saying no, so that there's a place for peace. So
do you know much about Saint Agatha? Because I went to Sicily. Our grandfather's family came from Sicily, and they talked about Saint Agatha being the patron saint of Sicily. So I don't know why that vibed with me so well while I was there.
I don't know Saint Agatha, and she didn't make it into my book. I'll look into it, though. I'm interested to know.
Yeah, she was basically tied to I don't think it was a cross, but she was tied to a stake or something, and her breasts were cut off. So she's the patron saint of breast cancer and stuff like that.
God bless. Some of the torturous things that happened to saints and things they did was like revolting. And yet they didn't they didn't give up. These saints were so strong in their faith, which is probably why they become like a beacon for us to say, okay, they got through this to the other side and still created miracles. Because saints become saints, they have to be beatified and then canonized because they actually created a miracle, or have been known that there was evidence of a miracle, which that's so cool. I wouldn't mind being someone who makes miracles in people's lives.
Now, let's say it's like any individual who's calling upon an angel or a saint for whether it be, let's say, peace or maybe energy or something like that. Isn't there any possibility that simply by calling upon a particular entity, they're just manifesting it themselves by allowing themselves to believe that it's going to happen?
I totally believe that. Okay. I do. I feel like this is just a way to connect with the vibration, so they're energetically vibrating at the same rate. And then it's really, we're the empowered ones. It's just that we're honoring and respecting and connecting with a divine being. Mm. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there would be plenty out there that would say that, we can't control who we're actually bringing into our presence. I know that a lot of us feel that if it's a positive presence, then it has to be an archangel or it has to be a saint. But there would be plenty out there that say that, calling upon any type of spiritual energy, you're kind of on the fringes of bringing up something negative that could be masquerading as something of light. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a good one. So that's where faith comes in, and having trust in your own connection with the divine. So in my world, negative energies or entities are not even allowed in my space. And that's just how I feel strongly. And it's very rare that something has come up where I felt like, I need to clear, I need to get some energies away from my space. But majority of the time, I have really strong faith and trust that I'm divinely protected. I've known that since a very young age. So maybe because my own belief system doesn't allow for that, it's like, not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Right. I've always, whenever I've heard that phrase, it's like, I love that. Not an option.
Well, I think also, going off of that belief system, just your own personal beliefs, your faith, it's actually scripturally based. The Lord says that when we pray about something, we should believe we've already received it. And so believing that, for example, we're surrounded by a bright light that protects us from negative energies, or believing that a negative energy can't influence or walk into our territory because of the spirits that are with us, or the Holy Spirit. And I think a lot of people, they have this idea, like, if you just, and not saying that it can't happen, where you ask God something and you don't have any belief or faith in it. I'm not saying he can't work through that, because he's God. He's very capable of working through anything and everything. But I feel like a lot of people don't understand how to have a belief, because they doubt so much. They're like, oh, well, I can't see and touch and, feel or taste this thing, so I'm praying to the Netherlands, like into the oblivion, and it's out there. Let's hope for the best.
I wonder about that. To be honest with you, I think that strong faith is cultivated probably at a young age. So because from me personally, I can only speak from my personal experience. At a very young age, like say, one of my most favorite memories, in a way, strange way, is that when I would wake up at night, in the middle of the night, I shared a room with my sister. There's a 6-year difference between us. I would wake her up crying or scared, and she would say, Margaret Ann, just, imagine that you're being surrounded by angels. You're always divinely protected. And she told me from such a young age that that's all I know to be true. But we can bring in other negative vibrations, but it's because we leave an opening in our belief systems, an opening in our consciousness, an opening that does doubt. I don't know how to teach somebody how not to doubt, other than to work toward with I think contemplation and meditation and prayer combination can really help cultivate that strength in one's own ability to know the difference between good and bad, and what should I let in my space and what should I not let in my space. Right. And that comes over time too, practice, even as we grow. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I had a different, level of experience. Now that I'm in my 60s, I have more experience, So I think we continue to cultivate and grow if we do it with intention.
Right, for sure. And it's like, I feel like people tend to, what was the word I was going to say? You know what? It's one of those thoughts I had and it just slipped out. Gone.
So maybe not from right this moment.
Maybe it wasn't right this moment. It's amazing how often that happens to me, unfortunately.
Well, maybe it's because it needs to be unsaid in the moment. So if it's
be
important, we'll remember.
Yeah.
Well, Margaret Ann, you broke one of the cardinal rules. A lady does not share her age.
Oh, is that true? I didn't say what age exactly. I didn't know that was a cardinal rule. Oh my goodness. It's just a number. It's our belief system again. How we
absolutely 100%.
Reality, you're still 25, right?
Yep,
that's it.
In a lot of ways, I think I am in my early 40s. To be honest with you, I just hold that vibration. See, your cat agrees.
Yeah,
I love that your cat's doing that.
They're menaces. They are menaces.
Yeah, my hellhounds like to make an appearance every once in a while too. So.
Cats.
Dogs. Yeah,
cool.
2 of them.
That's nice. Very cool. I love animals.
Yeah, we do too, apparently.
What else? I remember what I was going to say earlier.
Good.
Hey.
Yay.
It's natural, like, for just human beings to lack faith and to doubt themselves in so many things, and so I think it's one of those things that we, like you said, we have to go through it. It's imperative that if you want to step forth in something, to grow, to succeed, we need to kind of like push aside the doubts and the questions and train ourselves to just accept a reality or a possible reality before it even manifests itself. Because like for me personally, there's a number of things I've tried over the years, like hobbies or careers. And there are times where I just keep thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, not going to be able to do this. And next thing you know, I'm not doing it because I don't have the motivation. I don't have the passion for it. And I see that a lot, especially nowadays. I mean, obviously the world is just, it's going to some place that is just a mess, right? And people are becoming more and more out of tune with themselves. They're starting to focus more on the media and what the world says they should be, or how they should act, or what type of jobs they should have, you know. So I feel like, you know, along with what you're saying, just a lot of people, they kind of suffer the belief systems and trusting in God to guide them, or just trusting in the universe for some people. And it's really kind of sad when you think about it. Like, there's so many friends of mine who've just, you know, they had a dream and they just let it go because they just didn't think they could do it. And I was like, you didn't even try. You didn't push yourself, you know?
That is a bummer. And I think that it's hard to say where that stems from anymore. Like, I think we get taught certain things at an early age. And in that time frame, we have a strong belief in ourselves that we can do anything. And if you hold on to that all the way through, and if not, then we have to retrain ourselves to believe as if it already exists. So many things, I decide I'm going to do it, I do it right away, but not everybody has that. Right. So that's another reason why I have my store, the Crystal Garden, so that people have that experience to come and have, you know, come to an event or find the right book to help them support them. But the same thing with my own books. That's why I have my books and my sprays, is to encourage people to step into their personal power and to follow their dreams. Because, you know, I grew up with a dad that would always say to me, Margaret Ann, you don't know until you try. So try. And if it doesn't work exactly the way you wanted it to, then you just readjust yourself until it's right. And that's how I've led my life now. And so, but not everybody had that, somebody that was telling them you can do it, or, you know, you don't know until you try. Maybe they had someone in their life that's telling them they're not so smart, or what's wrong with you, or you're so lazy, you can't so clear, all those things. But that sticks and it ingrains into our consciousness and becomes like cords. That's why I even do cord cutting ceremonies with people in groups and privately, to help disconnect those cords that are holding them back and become perceived blocks, when they're not really blocks. It's just that these things got ingrained into our consciousness. So it's like, let's get them out of there. Let's get them out of the way.
I know for as a born again Christian, you just talked about cutting cords. That is something that I personally do. Like, I have to imagine or picture things, you know, especially when I'm cutting cords or trying to manifest prayers or something like that. I don't say manifest prayers, but when I'm praying, you know, I try to believe that God is truly going to do what I'm asking. But I know a lot of Christians who are like, well, cutting cords, that isn't a Christian thing to do. You know, that's more occultish. And I'm like, God tells us that we should believe in the things we pray for. We should be imaginative. We should be open-minded to the possibilities. And if cutting a cord, like, for example, I want to, let's just say I drink too much and I want to stop drinking. I have to physically, in my mind, put a bottle of alcohol on one side, me on the other, and cut an imaginary cord to help me see it happening, because it's easier to manifest that and believe it. Whereas, you know, some people be like, oh, I'm just going to stop drinking. But then the thought continues because there's something kind of hanging, lingering, following them around, you know? And I find that really interesting. Like, I find a lot of Christian people who actually, they're very hesitant on things that are outside the realm of the typical Christian church.
That I have observed as well. But I, you know, approach life on a more of a metaphysical level. So I don't, anybody that maybe feels that way doesn't necessarily resonate with me or my teachings, or coming into my store, to them maybe something's wrong, or that's the devil, you know, kind of stuff. And
sure.
Like, I have to respect their belief system, but I don't have to agree with it.
Right.
I can say that Erik has come a long way in his faith, because when he first came back to Christianity, it was full force, you know, everything else is of the devil, you know, the only thing is God, which I'm sure he still believes everything is of God. But we had separated for a while doing podcasting, and when we came back with ParaTruth, he had gotten a whole new respect for the other side of things. So he's come a long way in his faith.
Well, that's beautiful. That's
baby
great.
Learning, just a baby learning, walking through life.
I think we all are. We're always
absolutely,
learning. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, people would say to me, Margaret, I'm a recovering Catholic. And this is years ago that people would say this. They probably would say it now too, and I would say, what are you recovering from? And I didn't understand that. But for some people, it was a negative experience because of probably indoctrination or feeling guilty, or you're not allowed to do this, or too many rules or whatever. And for me, I want my faith and my spiritual connection to be just that, a spiritual connection, not just following a particular set of doctrines. And that doesn't mean that for some people that's not the way. Sometimes that is the way that is best for them. And so that's why there's so many religions too, like for people to find different paths to at kind of the same place. I think we're all going in the same direction. We just are approaching it differently.
Mm-hmm. So something that looking through the book, it does become clear, but I wanted to ask you, what type of things can you ask for help from the saints and the angels?
I think anything and everything. So, there's a category of angels that I refer to as everyday angels. And that's like, maybe you're nervous about speaking in front of a group. So the angel of public speaking, I'm calling on you to come, this energy, this vibration to support me, so I have the strength and the courage to speak in public. Or it could be as basic as, wanting to have the garden grow better. So I want to call on the angel of nature to help me be a better gardener, because I am a gardener and I love to plant and have the whole thing going on outside. And it can be to help, maybe the in-laws are fighting amongst, the relatives and in-laws are all fighting and you want to find peace. Well, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton might be one to call on and say, I need some intervention here. I want some help. Or the angel of harmonious relationships. So you base it on whatever is happening in the world, in your personal world. You could do it also for the bigger outer world, of course, too. But we find inner peace first, and then hopefully it ripples out to, as far as we can make it go without pushing it onto people.
Okay.
All right. Now for people, let's just say, who are just starting with wanting to reach out to archangels or saints, but they don't really know how to start or where to start or what particular angel to reach out to. And let's just say they don't have your book to guide them. How does one actually go about? Is it just research, or do they go ahead and just ask anything to anyone who's listening, or how would you guide them in that situation?
So I wouldn't ask anything to anyone who is just happened to maybe listening, because you don't know who you're calling out to. Right. I would say potentially a little bit of research would help, or looking to someone else who has the experience or knowledge or the connection with the divine that they could find, maybe a spiritual teacher who is authentic that might be able to guide them how to reach out. But the main and the easiest way, I think, is to decide, what I need help with, and then state what it is. And I'm asking for only the highest and best energies to come and guide me on my journey. I ask for the highest level, and only goodness is allowed in my space. Only love is allowed in my space. Shine light on my path so I can see what I need to see, or hear what I need to hear, know what I need to know, and reveal to me truths and help me to be a better person. And, it's like you're just talking to a good friend, but you can't see them. They're not there, And that's how I would go about it personally.
All right.
Now, the essential oils, the crystals, stuff like that, is it kind of essential to use some of that stuff to communicate, or is it just like a guiding thing for your intention?
Yeah, it's not essential to do it. I think it's a lovely addition. And because the what we'll call, let's say, the New Age community or the metaphysical community, it will, I wanted to also reach that audience so that they have an opportunity to use and say they want to call on Archangel Jophiel or Archangel Chamuel and hold a rose quartz to help them with love. And so that gives them something tangible to touch. And it's pink, it's vibrating at the rate of love, or so it gives some solidity. It gives something that we can experience. With the olfactory nerve, it's going through the limbic system of the brain, and it reaches a whole part of our consciousness that we barely can, consciously know. And so essential oils can help us in so many ways, but especially it can be for protection, especially if it's new to us and maybe we want to use some kind of an essential oil or blend, like maybe sage and cedar together and spray it around. I have some sprays back here, and just spray it around to say, okay, I want to have protection when I'm calling on these energies, or I want to open my awareness, my consciousness, so I can receive more. So I want this essential oil to help me, maybe lemon for clarity, to inhale that. Any citrus oil, actually. It seems like, especially grapefruit and pink grapefruit, those essential oils are very good to kind of wake up your consciousness and open your mind to receive.
Okay.
Now, so you talk about using crystals, you talk about using essential oils. The one thing I didn't see that you touched base on was the idea of using various sound waves. A lot of people, especially meditation, use sound waves to orchestrate various mind lengths. How to, like, for meditation, I use one particular sound wave for my meditation, which helps me to fall deeper and into a more relaxed state. Have you done any research on using sound waves in terms of reaching out to some of these angels or saints?
Yes, I would say yes. So for many years, I've been working with the crystal singing bowls, and I do crystal singing bowl events to, like, sound baths to realign the chakra system. And that's a foundational experience that can help one open up one's consciousness to clear out what's no longer for the highest good. So when we become conscious of what each of the chakras are about and how that energy is in our own field, potentially blocking our field, then you can use the sounds, which are basically the notes of the scale, C through A, I think it is A. It goes all the way through, and that is each one of the chakras are tuned to a different sound. And then having the physical and mental and emotional body all vibrating and balance can open up one's consciousness to receive more guidance, more information, even just to calm down and relax and know that everything is well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So with any of our listeners, what is it that you want people to take from this book if they purchase it?
I would like everyone to remember, and I want to say remember, that they are love and that they deserve love and that they can attract happiness and joy and peace and harmony in their life. And that if they choose to work with a book like mine, like The Essential Guide to Archangels and Saints, that there are tools in there that can help them on that journey to remember their true essence, their true spiritual being, because that's who they truly are. The natural is truly a spiritual being, and that natural state is love. And that's what I want us to remember, that we are love, and all that is attracted to us is love. And then if we do, then we should be pretty happy for most of the days of our lives if we're vibrating at a rate of love.
All right. All right, Margaret Ann, thank you so much for being on ParaTruth Reborn with us. I want to give you the chance to tell everybody where they can find you, find the book. The mic's all yours.
Oh, thank you so much. So you can find me at my store, The Crystal Garden. So that's thecrystalgarden.com, or on my website as Margaret Ann Lembo, the author, margaretannlembo.com. You can also find me on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm also into gardening, so I post different things that are uplifting and inspiring, but also what's growing in my garden in South Florida. I'm in the tropics here. And I hope to see you sometime on a YouTube channel as well, Margaret Ann Lembo YouTube channel. So you can find me in various ways. All of my books, I have 11 now, can be found at all major bookstores. And of course on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and all the good big box bookstores, as well as your local mom and pop shop, which I totally encourage that you support. And of course, you can buy them from me too.
Well, being a fellow author, I completely agree with you 100%. Local bookstores are so much better to get into, just because the big ones, yeah, that's great if you can get into them, but the local ones are going to really support you above and beyond what the big ones do.
It's true. It's true. That's your like hand selling your books and real connection.
Right. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we're going to put you in limbo for a second, so stick with us for just a second as we close out. But thank you so much for being on ParaTruth Reborn.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, folks. That is Margaret Ann Lembo, author of The Essential Guide to Archangels and the Saints. Right there for you. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out. It's a very interesting read. Next week, we're going to be actually bringing back a good friend, William J. Hall, to talk about his book, The Bridgeport Poltergeist on Lindley Street. We've had Bill on several times, so we hope that you enjoy him. I should take that back. We had him on ParaTruth Radio. We're bringing him into ParaTruth Reborn. Anything else we need to announce before we go?
I don't think so, no.
All right. Good. All right, folks. Until next week, where you will find us same time, same channel. My name is Justin.
And I'm Erik. Peace.